Here are 12 great new co-op and multiplayer games coming in July. With more than 500,000 pre-registrations and a solid 4th place on the Steam wishlist, it's safe to say that at least a couple of people out there are hyped for Mecha Break. This free-to-play action title is probably a dream come true for many mecha fans. At launch, it will feature 13 unique strikers to pilot across 3 distinct game modes: 3v3 deathmatch, 6v6 hero shooter, and a PvPvE extraction mode. From what we've seen so far, the game looks incredibly polished and should easily appeal to both PvP enthusiasts and anyone with a soft spot for Neon Genesis Evangelion. Because, believe it or not, you're not playing the mechas themselves, but the ace pilot behind the controls, fully customizable to your liking. And of course, the devs wasted no time showing off by designing an Asuka lookalike. What else? The only thing left to see is how the free-to-play model combines with the PvP, because monetization is definitely coming, and we can only hope it steers clear of pay-to-win territory.
If the wait for Borderlands 4 is dragging on, you might want to take a look at Mycopunk in the meantime. Even Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford seems excited about it. Though, to be fair, he also compared it to a hit of meth, so maybe don't read too much into that. You play as a robot, tasked with cleaning up mold on alien planets, armed with guns and supported by up to 3 co-op partners. What sounds like a crossover of The Last of Us and WALL-E turns out to be a light-hearted, colorful shooter that refuses to take itself seriously. If you want to know how this plays out in practice, there is even a demo you can play before buying. Real customer service. We gave it a shot ourselves, and while the visuals are a bit of an acquired taste, the gunplay felt solid and getting into the session was quick and painless. So if that sounds like your thing, give it a go.
If you were a fan of Neverwinter Nights 2 back in the day and don't feel like digging up an old CD drive, this one's for you. Believe it or not, the game is getting an enhanced edition, complete with all 3 DLCs, improved camera controls, updated textures, and generally smoother, more polished gameplay. It now supports controllers and full crossplay for co-op across all major platforms, even including the Nintendo Switch. Sure, the visuals are still a bit dated, but compared to the original, it's a big step up, especially considering that it came out over 20 years ago. As always, you're very welcome for the reminder.
Next up on the nostalgia train, but this time leaning more into a real remaster than a simple overhaul, is Stronghold Crusader Definitive Edition. This one dates all the way back to 2002, and it's getting more than just a visual upgrade. Alongside remastered graphics, you're getting new units, opponents, campaigns, and larger maps. And most notably, co-op. The original was strictly single player, but now you can team up with a second player against the AI, or go head to head with up to 7 others online. What really makes this one stand out is that it's being handled by the original developers, not some outsourced and upscale operation. And that care shows. The charm of the original is still there, but the details have been polished throughout. Even the voice lines were re-recorded to match the new remastered audio. We like that a lot. It's the kind of update that respects the original while actually making it better to play today.
This is starting to feel like a time travel episode. Pikmin from 2001 was the unlikely inspiration behind this one. We're not entirely sure how a colorful GameCube adventure evolved into a hand-drawn, black and white roguelike with splashes of color. But the secret link is probably the sacrificing part. Worship is a grim yet oddly charming adventure where you play as a robed cultist doing the dirty work of an old god. That means spreading devotion, drawing sigils with your own blood, and sacrificing mindless followers in increasingly gruesome rituals. All to summon your favorite nightmare and kick off the end of the world. It supports online or local co-op for up to 4 players, because no cult ever started with just one nutjob. The game's art gives it a distinctive and slightly unhinged look. It's cute in a way that probably shouldn't be, and the dark humor really leans into that. With 4 factions, evolving gameplay, and the ultimate goal of summoning your god into the mortal realm, there's plenty to dig into, assuming you survive long enough to do it.
If you and your friends love pixel art on one hand and challenging fast-paced combat on the other, Neon Abyss 2 is definitely worth keeping an eye on. That is, if you can keep up with the tempo. Weapon effects going off, projectiles flying everywhere, and still somehow tracking your character in the middle of the chaos. If you are easily overwhelmed by visual clutter though, Neon Abyss 2 might not be for you. There are different agents to choose from, plus a variety of Hedgemon, pets that can be evolved and brought along to assist in battle. Some are generally cute, others pure nightmare fuel. With over 700 items that can be fused and combined, chances are no 2 runs will ever feel the same. And of course, there is a background progression system, which lets you trade currency for items, Hedgemon, or gamble on outcomes that may or may not be in your favor. If you prefer non-linear dungeon exploration with hidden secrets and loot raining down, this one might be worth a look. And you can still try out the demo on Steam.
Wildgate looks a bit like someone revived the shutdown MMO Wildstar and sent you and your friends out in a procedurally generated space. The cartoony look and character designs might not be everyone's cup of tea, but the first-person action speaks for itself. You'll need to tend to your spaceship, do repairs and top up resources, all while keeping an eye out for the mysterious prize item, the artifact. If you and your crew manage to extract it, you win the round. But expect rival crews to come after you with cannons, gadgets, traps, and maybe even sabotage operations on your ship. One team consists of 4 players, and you can divide tasks like gathering resources and piloting the ship. The heroes have different abilities too, including camouflage to sneak onto enemy ships and plant bombs. There's matchmaking as well if needed. Unfortunately, we missed the latest beta, but most players loved what they got to try out. Wildgate looks promising if you're into games like Sea of Thieves or even something in the Deep Rock Galactic style, just with the addition of PvP.
Undermine 2 is the sequel to an action roguelike that blends dungeon crawling with combat and some RPG-style progression. The game sends you and one friend into the underground, where you mine gold to buy powerful upgrades. These add various new and creative abilities. We tried Undermine 2 during Steam Next Fest because the art style looked so appealing. And while the world does look interesting, with different monsters, characters and objects, we felt a bit let down by several aspects. Firstly, the demo had little to no tutorial on how to get the artifacts. We managed to figure out some things on our own, including how to tell whether a chasm would lead to death or the next dungeon level. But other things remained a mystery. The introductory story also felt a bit bumpy. If you're expecting a strong narrative and are sensible to writing quality, you might be disappointed for now. For us, Undermine 2 is still a game we will be keeping an eye on during its early access phase, especially if some of the rougher parts from the demo get polished up.
For this next release, Ratatan, please enjoy my very amateurish demo gameplay in the background, as I try to cover up how bad I am at rhythm games while still enjoying the hell out of them. The twist here is that it's not just a rhythm game. It's also an action roguelike and side-scrolling adventure. Your rhythmic inputs control the attacks of your little minions, of which you can have over 100 at one time. And for peak chaos, Ratatan supports up to 4-player co-op. Speaking for myself, not even 3 more versions of me would have helped. The soundtrack is catchy. You'll either be bobbing your head, or, if you're Nox, living your worst audiovisual nightmare. None of us made it far in the demo. The first boss crushed us. We couldn't really figure out the roguelike side or how to keep our little army attacking. The tutorial, well, it was barely there. We were left mashing buttons and hoping for the best. Hopefully, the full release adds a better tutorial because the art style and animations are just too adorable to miss. You can still try out the demo on Steam and see for yourself.
Killing Floor 3 is a nightmarishly intense blend of FPS action and horror. You and up to 5 friends pick a specialist class with unique perks and weapons. then fight off waves of bioengineered zombies called Zeds. The key here is teamwork, building synergizing loadouts and watching each other's backs. There is online matchmaking too, if needed. The game was originally planned for spring, but got delayed after community feedback during playtests. A smart call. We played back then and it still lacked the polish it deserved. Since then, the devs have made improvements to the HUD and enemy AI. Parts of the criticism had been around performance, lighting and how weapons felt. So whether or not Tripwire has been able to improve these might be the decisive factor for many fans. If you're curious to try it ahead of launch, a new stress test is planned. We're just waiting for the date.
I'll try my best to keep my excitement at bay for this next release, like a professional. Or actually, never mind, because both Nox and I cannot wait to jump into Grounded 2. It brings back the 4 heroes from the original, shrunk once again to ant size, but this time they are not just exploring a backyard. Now it's an entire park full of new zones, creatures and secrets to discover. The first Grounded left such a lasting impression on us that to this day we still exchange the iconic
"It's not lemon crime,
but it's better than nothing" every time we eat at a mediocre restaurant. And yes, we'll say that out loud. Seeing a ladybug speed by or gliding on a dandelion petal like it's a parachute, it's genuinely charming. The spiders, on the other hand, not so charming. But the pressure and fear they create when they chase you, that sticks with you. Not the loveliest kind, but unforgettable nonetheless. And if you need it, you are wholeheartedly invited to the Arachnophobia Mode Club. Welcome, friend! I should also mention, in part 2, you'll get to zoom around on buggies, your mobile insect buddies. And yes, you can choose between ants and spiders. Daring, aren't we? The base building is still a huge draw, and so are the creative weapons. I mean, peppermint mints as arrows that inflict chill? That's some S-tier roleplaying. We're absolutely planning to cover Grounded 2 at launch, so if you're still on the fence, keep an eye out for our full thoughts after release.
One might argue whether free-to-play games are a blessing or a curse these days. It's really a box of chocolates. But the kind where one bite either tastes like something gifted to you at Christmas 5 years ago, or it asks for your credit card before you can have another. With Terminal Brigade, we are not sure yet if it's chocolate A, B, or maybe, just maybe, an actual enjoyable action co-op roguelike. The core gameplay seems to focus on slaying hordes of enemies in neon-lit cyberpunk arenas with a few bosses thrown in. You will get to choose from a roster of rogueteers, including your token cat girl and a very stylish samurai lady. Each character is said to offer a unique playstyle with special moves and their own talent trees. You may even uncover more of their personalities and backstories as you play. There are in-game purchases, but no PvP in sight yet. So we are assuming we will see a variety of outfits to unlock for each character. If this sounds a bit cautious, well, it probably is. Our recent experiences with free-to-play titles from China have taught us to manage our expectations. Terminal Brigade is being developed by a brand new studio and published by Level Infinite, who last brought us Terraceland. But that's all for July. Have fun out there in co-op with your favorite people, and we will see you again in the next one.